Vigil, Ante, and the Vigilante Antics by BelleAmant. Read by Oakshadow 5. Chapter 31. Thoughts. Toshinori's first thought when he arrives at the scene is of his failures. His failure to keep his 3-hour limit in mind. His failure to arrive at the USJ because he was off in the streets fighting mega villains. His failure to be there. His failure to prevent his students from being separated. His failure to prevent his colleague from being broken and thrown about in a pool of his own blood. His failure that led to 2 of his students fighting a creature designed to kill him, not them. Toshinori's second thought, of course, is one of justice. He focuses on justice, on finishing this vicious fight that never should have started, on protecting his students, on saving his coworker. He focuses on this, and fights past his limit. He pushes himself well over the line, and he's losing steam, figuratively and literally, by the time that he punts that cursed Nomu through the ceiling and straight into the sky. He pushes and pushes, and then he collapses when he knows that everyone is finally safe, because the rest of his coworkers have finally arrived. He hears a wall of concrete rise up, blocking the other students from seeing him, and he lets himself breathe, and his mind goes numb, thoughtless for a little while. Toshinori's third thought is of injuries. Not his own. He's long since come to terms with his injuries. He's well past focusing on the empty spot where his stomach should be. No, Toshinori worries about Aizawa, who he is told will be fine and will recover, but also who he had seen unconscious and bleeding out, muscles showing through his elbow and arms bent in ways that they weren't meant to. Toshinori isn't able to watch over Aizawa, however, to make sure he is fine, because he's not family and the man is in the hospital. No, Aizawa has Yamada for that. And so, Toshinori is about the 2 boys, the only 2 students who had been severely injured in the attack. The only 2 who had to go toe-to-toe with the big bosses for more than a minute too. Sitting in UA's nurse's office, Toshinori can't help but let out a wet laugh, one that's either filled with tears or blood, as he looks down at the sleeping forms. Only the Vigilante duo would throw themselves at a creature designed to kill the number 1 hero, and a villain that could disintegrate whatever he touched. The green and purple-haired boys sleep peacefully, unknowing of who remains beside them and undisturbed by today's danger. Their injuries are mostly gone, thanks to Recovery Girl's healing quirk, to which Toshinori feels extremely grateful. The image of them, battered and bruised, Toshinori can't help but remember that these are just children. Children who put their lives on the line for the teacher. No, their parent, their father, or legal guardian, or whatever they refer to Aizawa as. All Toshinori knows is that these boys risked their lives in the same way that Aizawa risked his for his students. You too will make for fine heroes in the future, Toshinori says in the silent room, and although they cannot hear him, he hopes that they get the message all the same. A knock on the door startles Toshinori out of his thoughts, and then it opens, and now Masa is smiling at him, eyes doing little to hide the fatigue that remains behind them, eyes that grow more tired when they land on the sleeping figures. I should have known, now Masa says, and his tone is exasperated, but his lips quirk up even more in a way that belies amusement. Toshinori chuckles, despite all that has happened. They were quite extraordinary, Toshinori compliments. Young Midoriya was wielding 2 capture weapons at once when I got there. I think he stole Aizawa-kun's. I believe it. Now Masa agrees easily. How did Shinzo get hurt though? It's not like him to get so injured. I believe that happened after Midoriya was first in the Nomu's grasp, although you'd have to ask them. From what I've heard, the Nomu was about to kill young Midoriya, but young Shinzo threw himself into the fray to distract the creature. That's more understandable. Now Masa agrees. It lines up with that data for Shinzo to only throw caution to the wind when Midoriya is at a very high risk of losing his life. If Toshinori had a stomach, he is sure that it would have dropped at the words. Instead, the gaping hole seems all the emptier. He coughs, feeling some blood climb his throat as he asks, This has happened before? A few times, believe. Reports of a villain getting a little too close for comfort, or a thief getting scared and lashing out. It was usually focused on Midoriya. The attacks, I mean. One of our witnesses has recalled seeing Midoriya nearly getting shot in one moment, and Shinzo leaping into the fray the next. A soft blood escapes Naruma's throat. I think that was the time we found bite marks on the apprehended person. Toshinori sputters. Bite marks? Yes, we were quite surprised too. Sighing, Naomasa shakes his head, a smile that could perhaps be described as fond creeping onto the detective's face. Do you know how long they'll be asleep for? Shuzenji-san said that they'll likely be asleep for at least another hour, likely longer for Midoriya due to his more excessive injuries. Right. Naomasa sits down on one of the empty chairs. I suppose I'll just wait then. Wait? Toshinori asks, and the detective nods. For all the statements, and someone should be here so they don't panic when they wake up and can't find the Guardian. Right. I will wait with you, I suppose. Toshinori decides, taking a seat next to him. The room falls silent for a moment, the two men watching the two resting boys calmly. Toshinori lets his mind wander, thoughts drifting away only to inevitably go back to the boys before him. They must have been terrified, Toshinori thinks, and yet they kept moving. It makes sense, Toshinori supposes, because although these two are merely children, they also have far more experience than a normal first year should have. 5 years, to be precise. Two 10-year-olds would never have made it for so long if they hadn't been able to move in the face of fear. Freezing up in the middle of a fight, the two would be long gone, well before they could have even thought of having a future. Toshinori grimaces to himself, pushing aside the darker thoughts that come to mind. It's no good to dwell on mistakes that were never even made, of course. Instead, he reassures himself by remembering that the teenagers fought in the face of danger, and they persisted even when some pros would have quit. An image flashes in Toshinori's head, young Midoriya covered in his own blood, pushing himself through exhaustion in order to protect his peers and his teacher. The image that Toshinori was greeted with when he entered. The boy was like a symbol, Toshinori realizes. A beacon of hope almost, pushing through the danger to protect others even when injured. He had done what Toshinori would, perhaps even more so. Toshinori freezes at the thought, then looks at Midoriya with what feels like a new perspective. What if... Toshinori starts to think. And then, Naomasa asks, What are you thinking, Toshinori? I can hear that head of yours running a mile a minute. Toshinori startles, and the taste of blood on his tongue only pushes his thoughts further. The emaciated hero takes a tissue and wipes away the red substance that got past his lips, then tosses it in the trash can. I was weak, Toshinori says solemnly. It took me 300 punches to defeat that beast. Back in my prime, it would have only taken 20. That fight took a lot out of you, Naomasa says, voice tinged with sympathy. And this one has taken even more, Toshinori admits. I will be lucky if I can even manage a single hour now. Sighing, Toshinori rubs a hand down his face, feeling his own sunken cheeks and frowning at the feeling. One for all, it's dying with every passing day, and I've been searching for its new holder. I have a few candidates, including one that Sir Night-Eye himself picked for me. And yet... Naomasa's eyes flash in recognition, and he spies a glance to one of the sleeping boys. You're drawn to Midoriya, I presume. Toshinori doesn't say anything, but he doesn't have to. Don't rush yourself, Toshinori, but I would say that he will be a wonderful candidate. That kid is going far in life, with or without a quirk. Nothing can really prevent him from doing otherwise, I think. Toshinori nods, smiling despite himself. He will be a symbol, no matter what path he chooses. Toshinori can only hope that young Midoriya picks the best possible one. If he still had eyes, he has no doubt that he would use them to glare at the two who have just landed before him. Instead, he relies on the echolocation quirk that he holds in his collection, tapping his fingers in an idle rhythm, allowing information to pour into his head. Vigil, blank-faced behind his mask, but his hands are shaking ever so slightly. Ante, half of a step behind his partner, a way of feeling comforted, he supposes. And Kurogiri, standing politely and attentively, a few feet away from either one. Not beside them, not protecting them. A bystander. He would smile, but none of them can see his face, and he is far too disappointed by the duo's actions. I do believe that we made a deal, he says calmly, and watches how the boys grow tense with another idle tap. Shoulders hunch ever so slightly, head still downwards a fraction of a centimeter. But it's enough to be measured, and so it is enough to count. We made a deal, he repeats, because sometimes it is necessary to remind your workers what they have promised, ingrain it into their feeble minds.
You would go in as my informants, and I will bring my dear mother back when you've provided a suitable host for her soul.
Vigil flinches at the mention of his deceased parent. Good.
You disrupted our plans,
he says.
Shigaraki was quite unhappy, coming back with bullet wounds down on Nomu and dozens of pawns, and without anything to show for it except for some publicity and a few injured enemies. And Kurigiri tells me that the biggest source of this failure is your actions.
He leans onto his hand, giving off the appearance of someone who is relaxed and in control. Because he is, and they must know that.
I wonder why that is. I doubt that you two will mind explaining yourselves, will you?
A tap. Vigil shakes his head and opens his mouth after he gestures for the boy to speak.
We are your informants, but we can't continue if we get caught right away,
Vigil says, voice shaky, but full of something strong.
We were inside, and a few of our peers were there. We had to act, as there would have been suspicion.
He must admit, it is good reasoning. And yet... He lets it slide, but he has more to say.
I see,
he says, and the tap shows how Vigil says inaudibly, tension seeping away in small percentages.
I suppose you are correct. We hired you on as informants and not fighters. Next time, we will make sure to provide more distance for the two of you, so that you are not compelled to act.
He takes pride in the way that the boys shrink in on themselves, the guilt obvious.
I suppose that is all.
He lies. But when Kurigiri opens up a portal, he holds up a hand.
One last thing,
he says slowly, and the boys turn to face him.
I do not know what exactly you two feel in terms of your teacher, but I do feel as if I should remind you that he is only a temporary guardian for you. This is all for your mother, is it not? The loving, doting parent that you two have longed for. You would not want to throw away for a man who houses you out of obligation, would you? He taps and sees that they both flinch at the questions. He smiles, and the machinery on his face hides it well. I do hope that you don't truly believe that that man cares for you,
he says wistfully.
It'd be such a shame letting your mother die forever, all for a man who just wants to make his own life easier.
Tap. Flinch. Scowling. Perfect.
Kurigiri, make sure to drop them off in a hidden location. After all, we don't want anyone to see something suspicious, do we?
He asks, throwing Vigil's words back into his face. The two disappear with another tap. If he had eyes, he has no doubt that his glee would shine through them openly. Alas, he does not. He merely taps once more, and figures that that is enough for now. Oh my gosh, we got an AFO POV! I got to speak AFO again! But anyways guys, I hope you all enjoyed chapter 31 of Vigil, Ante and the Vigilante Antics, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!